The study in Jamaica that was actually conducted was a study that actually looked at supplementing the early lives. These are kids 9 to 24 months old who were stunted, children. They were all living in the slums in Jamaica, and these kids had huge developmental disadvantages. So the question is, if you supplement their lives by giving them better food, more nutrition, and giving them cognitive, social, and emotional stimulation, just encouraging the interaction between the parent and the child, the question is, how would that affect their lifetime trajectories? Would they become more successful? And the answer was that yes, when you gave these kids certain kinds of supplementation, in particular cognitive and social and emotional stimulation, that you actually found substantial improvements at age 22. These kids were more likely to be educated, less likely to be engaged in crime, much more likely to migrate to either the US or UK. They had much higher earnings at age 22. Now you ask, well, what was the feature that created that possibility? Just giving them nutrition alone, even though they had problems, challenges with nutrition, giving them nutrition alone was not enough. What was necessary was also giving them the cognitive and social emotional stimulation. But the core ingredient, how that was given, was by stimulating the interaction between the parent and the child. So it was parenting again. This was an intervention that stimulated the mother to be able to interact with the child, and then it carried over the whole life cycle of the child.
We don't educate new parents. We just assume that they know how to be a parent. And what the reality is that they often will end up replicating exactly the kind of parenting experience they had when they were younger. And sometimes that's wonderful, and sometimes that's not so good. And if you have a parent who is had experiences in life where they were disciplined and they were largely ignored by their parents, that's exactly the kind of pattern that they're going to engage in with their child. And that could be unfortunate in terms of where the developmental trajectory will be taking that child.
Many years ago, I studied a very small sample of mothers who had abused cocaine during pregnancy and were now in the court system. And when they came to the lab with their babies, they had no idea. When their babies cried, I'd have to show them babies like to be held, and they like to be rocked, and they like to be talked to a certain way. It didn't come naturally to them. So you can model these behaviors for young moms. There's a program called the Nurse Visiting Partnership, where these are high-risk families, firstborn child, high risk because they're poorly educated and living in poverty, and a nurse comes in and visits maybe a few times a week. And during those visits, she teaches the mother how to be more sensitive to the baby's needs, how to not get emotional, how not to get angry at a baby. So you teach the mothers how to regulate their own emotion. So those are programs that, when implemented early enough in life, can make a big difference in the lives of these children.
ABC is a project that's close to 40 years of age. It's an intervention that was actually conducted in North Carolina about 40 years ago. But it was an intervention which started earlier in life. It started really at kids were 8 weeks old, and they were followed through into age 5, and some were actually followed up to age 8. But the most effective interventions were the early interventions, 0 to 5. In ABC, there was actually a formal daycare center where children were sent, and there was even some interaction because the parents came in. Some of the most unexpected effects came in dimensions that nobody even thought about when the program was devised. See, originally, and much of the education literature is thinking only about promoting cognition. What people didn't understand was that also in improving the cognitive abilities, you were improving the social and emotional capabilities. And what nobody expected was that at age 35, these children who were in this program gained greater self-control, they had greater sense of presence of their own lives, and they were actually leading healthier lives. The greater ability to learn from the environment, to learn about what's good for you, what's bad for you, and to act on that information through self-control and motivation. These children were healthier adults, and it looks like they're going to be healthier people into their older ages.